She was sold for $100, but grew beyond our social station to demand rights for women as well as African Americans. This is her story, this is her voice, the narrative of Sojourner Truth. According to the narrative of Sojourner Truth, Isabella Baumfree was said to be born between 1797 and 1800. Isabella was born on a plantation in New York. She was unable to recount who owned her at her birth due to the fact she was only an infant at that time. Isabella was the daughter of James and Betsy Baumfree. They were slaves to a Dutch man named Colonel Ardenberg. He was of the Low Dutch class of people. Isabella's family, after Colonel Ardenberg's death, became the property of his son, Master Charles. James and Isabella considered this to be a change in their luck because Master Charles was considered to be the kindest of the Ardenberg family. Isabella's family, although slaves, they began to fall into the good graces of Master Charles, which allotted them some leisure, which surely was appreciated. Do not mistake this small crumb of happiness to mean that they were any less tormented than any other slave. That is not true. Isabella continued to bear witness and endure many terrible things, like the selling of her brother, death of her mother, and the deteriorating and death of her father. She also was sold many times before she took her freedom from a master who said that he would give her her freedom and then took it back. All of this and many more is the reason Isabella Baumfree became Sojourner Truth. She had experienced so much that she wanted to help and teach others. Truth began lecturing and ministering to other slaves to share her wisdom and maybe give them a little hope. Sojourner Truth began to advocate for African Americans and slaves that were suffering through the things she had once overcome. It is her advocating and ministering that set the tone for who she became and what she is known for today. People like Sojourner Truth are prudent in African American history and in history in general because she paved the way for people like me and you to do so many things that we may not be able to do without her hard work, her diligence, and her advocacy work. Sojourner Truth was the youngest of 10 or 12 children. She can't recall exactly what that number is because a lot of them were sold off before she was born. She was only left with a brother and a sister at age 5 and 3 that she can definitely recall who they were. She did, however, many years later reconnect with a sibling and attempt to have some type of relationship in their adulthood. I can see how she would have wanted to share this dramatic story of her life with us because it was truly an eye opener of what the African American women or African Americans in general had to deal with during the slavery period and closely thereafter. There was a part of the book where she talks about the illegal selling of her son. Her son was only 5 years old when he was sold off from her by her former master. The whole thing transpired before she was even aware it had happened. The poor child was shipped from master to master, going to New York, to New England, and eventually ending up in Alabama. Once she found what happened, she took off on foot and alone, an African American woman by herself, to find her child. She ended up getting to the plantation where he was, I guess you could say, stationed, and confronted the master about the illegal purchase. As you can imagine, her demands will go unwarranted. She exclaims to the master, "I will have my child again." He looked at her a bit confused, as he tells, but in herself, she felt like she had accomplished something just in that moment. She instilled a little bit of fear in him that she would go to that great length to have her child back again. She reveled in that moment, that she was able to stand up for herself and her child. She says, "I felt so tall within, oh Lord, because I knew I'd have him again, me and her son. In closing, I would like to share with you a quote that stood out from the pages of the book within the first few moments of reading. It says, "Just God, and shall we calmly rest, the Christian scorn, the heathen's mirth, content to live the lingering earth. Shall our own glorious land retain that curse which Europe scorns to bear? Shall our own brethren drag the chain, which not even Russia's minnals wear?" I think we can take some time and break that down to see what that actually means to you. But the part that stood out the most for me is when she says, "Shall our own brethren drag the chain?" To me, in that phrase, she's saying, will it be our own people, our own brethren, that will oppress us? Agree or disagree? That's totally up to you.